All right.
I can wing it.
There he is.
I told him it was my fault. I held you up.
Okay. Morning. Now call the meeting of the Carbon County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for a moment of silence, prayer, and the pledge of allegiance.
Father, bless us as we gather for this meeting today. Guide our minds and hearts so we will work together. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courteous in facing difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
These proceedings are being recorded for the sole purpose of constituting the accuracy of written minutes. Tapes are reused, eliminating recorded records of these proceedings. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held December 1, 2022, noting a change to agenda item number 22-642, the request for the use of the gazebo in Josiah White Park for a wedding ceremony, changing the date from Saturday, November 9th, 2023 to Saturday, November 9th, 2024.
Motion to approve the change.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Approval of the minutes of the special meeting held December 5th, 2022.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning county business at this time? Mr. Green.
I have a question. I understand that the commissioners will be providing us, I guess, the new salary scale that was developed through the salary study report by Evergreen. And I had previously did an open records request, and maybe about a week and a half ago, I sent an email requesting a copy of whatever report was done. And as a member of the salary board, this being a salary survey, I'm inquiring as to whether we will be receiving a copy of that.
Mike, I would say the salary study itself is not done. The salary study is partially complete. 8 of 11 tasks are complete. Sufficient completion was done that allowed the Board of Commissioners to take their study and develop the wage scale, and also to provide, subsequent to this meeting, a proposed updated complement.
So if components of that salary study were utilized in developing this matrix and utilized as part of the process to come up with a budget, it's no longer that, those portions are no longer part of the deliberative process, and I would request copies of that. Because I think it's necessary, if we're gonna have a salary board meeting to discuss salaries, that we should at least have what went into the decision-making process so that we're able to discuss this at the salary board.
Well, I think what you're requesting is a narrative report, and this is new to me, but I don't think a narrative report exists.
No, that's not what I'm looking for. To put it in pure basic layman's terms, you contracted with a company to assist you in developing, 1, your budget, 2, a salary scale, and implement that salary scale to place individual employees of every department into that scale. So that documentation was used. That's no longer deliberative because you've used it. So therefore, that is what I'm requesting, what was utilized, so that we may have it in order to properly discuss these things at a salary board. Or the salary board has no purpose, basically, because these decisions were already made and we're not able to review it and vote and discuss it at a salary board meeting. I don't think it's a stretch for the salary board to be given the documents relating to what you used to determine those things.
And to my knowledge, that end product is the scales that are going to be.
But you don't have the end product because it's not completed, but yet it was utilized to do all this. So to say that we can't see it until you get this final product, how are we supposed to go to the salary board meeting to discuss what we're getting and receiving when we don't know what the basis was to create this? I don't think it's a stretch.
Well, this is being put to a vote today. It's
I-
until the vote takes place, it's pre-deliberative, but that salary scale is going to be provided to you.
I understand it. And there'll be a vote taken, and more likely than not, from what I've seen that's been out here, or whatever anybody's been talking or posting on social media, we're going to receive that today. There's gonna be a vote and we're gonna receive it. So do I have to wait till I receive it and then make that request? Or am I gonna be forced to go through the open records process, get a denial, appeal that to the Office of Open Records and end up in court? Is that the manner I have to go through to get this? I wouldn't be here. I sent an email. All I needed was a response on whether whether I can get it. I reviewed the cases on it. I've been doing municipal law for 25 years. Once it's no longer part of the deliberative process, you're a transparent board. Why can't I, as a salary board member, see what was utilized and what was adopted and provided to me, since the budget was tentatively prepared? You used it as a basis for that, and you used it for developing this matrix. I don't think I'm off base with it. But if that's the position, that you're gonna wait till a final report is given after we meet, after January, it kind of serves no purpose. But if that's the position that you're taking on this, I understand it.
I'm gonna do a personal position, and Wayne and Rocky can weigh in. Mike, I agree with you. I think minus the PII, right, personally identifiable information, the data that allowed this Board of Commissioners to put on the agenda this wage scale should be provided. Also, the information that supports the complement that we're going to propose, so you understand the basis. The fact that we looked at 25 different counties and things of
Right.
that nature. No, I do not disagree with that at all. Yeah, I mean, again, minus the PII,
I'm not looking for it this afternoon. I understand that you gotta, get together documentation. I just think it would be helpful when we meet as a salary board because, we're gonna be discussing those
Yeah.
things. Then the second one I have is, there's a lot of banging and construction going on. I sent numerous emails over the last year and a half, just trying to find out what the status is. I can't continue to operate the district attorney's office, sharing desks, the overcrowding, it's not safe, and there's no end in sight because nobody's given me any indication of what's going on. I couldn't properly budget for anything that's there. I don't know where I'm going, what I'm getting, what's going on, and I know you have a whole bunch with children and youth and everything else. It's just that I can't emphasize how much of a critical level we're at. When I have victims sitting in and amongst the attorneys, when I have immense overcrowding during criminal pretrial days, I have people sharing desks. I don't have a desk for a part-time employee to sit at. It's beyond, I can't function.
I think I can give you my view on what's going on here, and I said, this pertains to one of our motions that's gonna be on here, and I said, I've been dealing with this since last October, and this move, who's moving where, and I think like the last couple months, I've been asking structural questions that I have not gotten an answer for yet, and one of the things that I look at, like if the clerk of courts would move downstairs, that could be my estimate of $400,000, because it's a big job to move somebody down there. And if that would be something that would be in the works, that would work out for her and you, and how the space would open up, but I have not gotten any information on that. And I think, as everybody's seen, we cut a lot in the budget. I don't think we have $400,000 on unexpected expenses next year to do this. And I still haven't got this answer, on what we're doing there. And I said, I got a blueprint of it. I got a diagram with a couple beams going across it. This is an issue where probably the weight is probably 4 times what my pickup truck is. And I get a drawing of 3 or 4 beams going across to do this. And there's all together, I mean, we have engineers and everybody coming in here. And when you do something like that, if you put a beam on top of the floor, now you're going into that, you need a ramp. You gotta have an inch per foot ramp. This is something that's unexpected, that's all the way through. And I just can't see, diminishing the integrity of the building itself. I mean, the building was built over 100 years ago. And I think we have to make a decision on it. And to me, it's status quo right now, unless they would prove to me. And like Mike, I've been asking them for months on this issue, and I still have not gotten an answer. And that's where I'm at. And I see your view, and I see the clerk of court's view. But I can't make a decision on something like this. How can we make a decision? Like I said, we tighten our belts up. Now we're gonna loosen our belts up for $400,000 to be wasted. I don't know. Maybe it's not wasted. It might be a good idea. But until I have these numbers, we don't even know if this is even feasible. You know, we have all the other documents that they're gonna do the wiring, they're doing all this other stuff. But one little thing that I asked for is not here. And why? And that's where I'm at, Mike. I mean, I see both the views.
And I'm not in a debate over the clerk's office or who gets what particular office and everything. I just need a functional space. I don't think I could divide it up. Obviously, for what the work we do, we need to be in the courthouse. And I think, but my concern is, I've been asking for this for over a year. The probation office is vacant. We're renting office space. You've paid how many millions for a building that there's 10 employees in, an entire building.
Yeah.
And I have 15 in my office, sharing desks. Labor and industry comes in, we're done. And I don't know what more I could do that, this is something that needed to be budgeted, needed to be looked at, and when I saw this budget come out and check as best I could, I can't follow all those things in there, and I'm just expressing that, I'm sitting here and I'm not, I do the emails because I don't wanna be here. I have too many things to do in that office. I don't wanna be here addressing it to you personally, but I'm left with no other choice. And the only step that I could go on after this, if nothing's gonna get done, is that I'm gonna have to seek redress with the court system. And then there's an order directing it.
Yeah, no,
And I don't wanna go that route because I think it's not the way these things are supposed to be done. I'm here, I'm basically begging. You have to do something. It's the same office when we had one judge, and I was part-time when I was here. I'm the longest tenured one in that district attorney's office. We had one judge. We have 3 now. The caseload, obviously with 3 judges, has tripled. I have more employees, and we're in there on top of each other. It looks like a dump. I can't function, and we have no place. The confidentiality, everything is just, and I'm waiting. That's why I don't have security. Anybody could come through my doors. Looks like the Beatles' help house, where all the doors open and everybody's in there. There's no security, and I'm not gonna spend the money to put something in place when something has to move. I'm not gonna go down that road. Not that we're unsecure. Obviously, I have a county detective that's armed, but it's just that something I need a plan. If you had a plan and say, we're going this way, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're getting there, but there's been nothing. And I don't think it's fair to the employees that are up there or to me. I really don't, not at this juncture.
We do have a motion on the floor to proceed, if it passes, to proceed with an engineer to do the structural study in one room in particular, to see if it would hold the filing system, let's put it that way. You know what my feeling is? It's an embarrassment. It's been 1.5 years. We still don't have that. You know, my intentions are still to move the clerk of courts to the first floor and expand your office upstairs as well as the IT upstairs. So as soon as we get that report back and if we can move forward. And because we did cut so much out of the budget on the construction over there, or what we were gonna do. Take notice, our maintenance people have been over there tearing out the old carpeting and looking at the walls now and the wallpaper's coming off, etc. So they are working over the next month or 2, hopefully we'll have that ready for occupancy. We're gonna level that one floor, it's just a matter of building it up about an inch and a half or so.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that step that's in there and
Okay.
everything.
Oh.
And I appreciate your time that you gave me to this. I don't wanna, necessarily come here, and I know you have difficult decisions to make with this. There's only so much office space in that building, and our courts have grown. I understand that. The sheriff's office needs space. We're all burdened with space issues, and I know it's difficult decisions. I'm just saying, I really feel at a critical level of my office, and I do appreciate you guys listening to me.
Mike,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna make a comment. Since adult probation's departure up until really probably this past week, since last week's motion, there was fully functional and operational space down there. No one was prohibited from utilizing that space. No requests came saying, we wanna use it. There were requests for permanent relocations, but no one said, I need space, can I use the old adult probation area until such time as decisions are made to clarify the way ahead. That space is there, it's fully functional operational space, up until just this past week.
It's functional, but not the ability to utilize it for our office when we work out of the files that are in there doesn't make sense. That we have enough time to look through our files to grab what we need to go to court. Then we're gonna be going downstairs to have two attorneys down there looking for what files they have on their desk, and back and forth and up those steps. It's not, I understand that there is space, but to divide up an office to utilize that because I'm at a critical situation, I don't think it's feasible, and it's not fair, because once I go to do
That's a choice you're
that.
making, Mike, that's a choice you made. You're looking for optimal versus adequate at a time of dire need. When there's a time of dire need, I'm gonna go with the minimal, not the optimal, because the optimal isn't available at this time. Hopefully, it will be available at some point, but that point isn't in the near future. And that space was operational, functional space that unfortunately wasn't taken
I know
advantage
what you're
of.
saying when you're saying optional, but you can't sit there and say to divide an office in half to utilize that space. You proposed that at a meeting.
Right.
I said, well, why don't you move the commissioner's office over there and you split the space?
I don't
and give
recall
us this
that
one.
comment.
Oh, yeah,
I remember the
recall it
conversation,
correctly.
I don't remember you saying
But
split
you
the
can't,
commissioner's office.
you can't function in dividing an office in half over 2 floors. You can't do that. It just won't function and work. When you could move another office, that's where the problem. Therein lies the problem.
Well, you can't move the office that you're proposing. It doesn't work. It wouldn't be functional space for that other office.
I think we've debated this issue long enough, let's move on with the rest of the meeting.
Any other guests?
Oh, sorry. Any other guests? You used up the guest time.
Right.
Oh, that's fine, okay, thank you, Mike. Okay, hearing no further guests, let's move on.
Next item is the report of executive sessions held.
There were 2 executive sessions, one on Tuesday, December 6th at 9:30 a.m. and one at 2 p.m. on the 16th, or the 6th for personnel reasons.
Department reports, the budget transfers.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The supplemental appropriations.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Expenditures. Approval of payroll numbers 74775 through 74792 and direct deposit check numbers 6048175 through 6048602 for the payroll paid through the payroll fund checking account for all county funds totaling $642,430.54. This is the payroll dated December 2nd, 2022.
Motion to ratify?
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Approval of check numbers 232894 through 233029 for expenditures to the general fund clearing account totaling $1,646,725.07.
Motion approved?
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The treasurer's report.
Motion approved?
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The personnel report for county departments.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich? Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The acknowledgements for courts and row offices.
Motion acknowledged.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Correspondence was received as listed. Copies will be made available to the press upon request. Boards and authorities, Environmental Education Advisory Board. For approval, the correction of the terms for the appointed members of the advisory board as listed.
Move to correct the terms.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Children and Youth, for approval and execution, the fiscal year 2022-2023 purchase of service agreement submitted for the following providers as per the rates attached.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Classification and compensation study for adoption. New salary scales for all non-union supervisory and non-supervisory county personnel. Authorize forwarding the scales to the salary board for implementation at the scheduled annual salary board meeting of January 3rd, 2023, as well as distribution to all elected row offices, courts, and county departments.
Motion adopted.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
The district attorney for approval and execution. Submission of a RASA grant application agreement to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency in the amount of $93,580. The project period is January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2024.
Motion approved and execute.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Legal services for approval and execution, a proposal from Susanna Widman and Brennan PC, updating the contract with the county, listing a slight increase in fees. The fee structure proposed is $265 per hour for Attorney Brennan and Attorney Shire, $250 per hour for partners, $235 per hour for associate attorneys. This represents an increase of $10 per hour for each category.
Move to modify the motion and strike the word slight. It's too subjective. An increase is an increase. Yeah, that's,
I'll second that.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Liquid Fuels Program for approval and execution. Application to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation requesting revision number 6 to project number 9413-000-02, Bridge 4, Grist Mill Drive, Township Route 459 over Quakey Creek, Packer Township. This is complete structure replacement, including engineering, design, right-of-way acquisition, and construction. This increases the encumbrance amount of $601,000 to $720,000.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Planning and Development, CDBG completion extension for approval and execution, a project activity completion extension request to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, requesting extensions of completion dates for the Franklin Township fiscal year 2018 contract from October 17th, 2022 to April 15th, 2023.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
A change order number 2, Franklin Township. Change order 2 to the contract with Lehigh Asphalt Paving and Construction Company of Tamaqua, Pennsylvania for Franklin Township street improvements fiscal years 2018, 19, and 20. Red Hill Road culvert replacement. Due to changes to the contract, the cost was increased by $4,808.13 for a new contract price of $134,541.19. The original contract price was $129,733.06.
Motion approved and execute.
Second?
Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Completion extension. A project activity completion extension request to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, requesting extension of completion dates for the Palmerton Borough, Lehighton Borough, Lansford Borough, Franklin Township fiscal year 2019 contract from April 30th, 2023 to April 30th, 2024.
Move to approve and execute.
Second.
Mr. Arner?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
CDBG, revision number 7, Lansford Borough. Revision request number 7 for the Community Development Block Grant Program fiscal year 2019 contract. Oh, excuse me here. For, we have I think that should be Lansford Borough. It's,
Oh, you have behind?
need to
Okay.
strike that from Lehighton to Lansford. And it's revision number 7, fiscal year 2019, moving $5,739.14 from Bowmanstown Borough to the sidewalks 88 corners to Lansford Borough Street Improvements Project, Brimble Wall Replacement, Street Reconstruct fiscal year 2019 and 2020.
Move to approve and execute.
Second, with that revision. I
With the
guess.
revision. Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Solicitors report?
Thank you. Under the courthouse renovation project for approval and execution of change order number 3 to the agreement with Boyle Construction Management of Allentown, Pennsylvania, for changes to the scope of work for the courthouse renovation project in the amount of $23,000, bringing the new contract total to $818,562.
Move to approve and execute.
And I will second with a little discussion on that. And I did look at that this morning, and went over like the changes that we had. And this amount is, I don't wanna say it's our fault, but I think we were getting a little bit more responsible that we did cut millions of dollars off of the project. And, I did not see anything in there about having this structural engineer, coming in and doing it. I think that's something that I've been asking about for 3 months. I don't think we have to ask for additional information on it when we asked about it in the original scope of work. So if it would have been taken out of the original scope of work, it would have been taken out this last time, and I didn't see it taken out. And that was our original discussion on what we wanted there. And I did second that motion already.
Okay. Mr. Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Notstein?
Yes.
Any further business? Hearing none, commissioners' reports. Mr. Honor?
None at this time.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a few comments about the wage scale, because without some context, it just becomes a document that has little value and the public has little understanding to, and quite frankly, those who probably should be aware of it, most importantly, the row officers and department heads. Again, I mentioned, we've completed now 8 of 11 tasks of the study that was commissioned with Evergreen. And the information that they collected, digested, evaluated, and assessed, and then which HR did quality assurance, quality control with, resulted in the development of these non-union, updated supervisory, non-supervisory scales. But I do want to emphasize 25 different counties were part of the market survey. That market survey started on or about 28 June and went into July, and actually little aspects of it all the way into August, which was just after the peak of the inflation, which was 8.8 on the June rate. In regard specific to the scales, the supervisory grades were reduced from 21 to 13, supervisory steps from 24 to 16. In the non-supervisory scale, the grades went from 17 to 15, steps 24 to 16. The grade modification percentage-wise continues to be 5% as you go up each grade. However, as you move laterally across to the steps, it's a 2.5% increase versus what was previously a 3% increase. You will notice that both scales end at P, where previously, right, they were out there around X, if I recall correctly. So that shows the notable reduction in the steps. So that begs the question, what happens after P? Anyone exceeding that P step and not going to a new grade, their increases are based upon approval of COLA increases at the annual meeting. You'll also notice if you look when you have copies of them, and the press has already been provided electronic copies as of about 10:40 this morning to your emails. You'll see on the upper left corner of the non-supervisory, the minimum salary in the counties, which would be a CC01 1A, $13. You'll see for the for the supervisory, the minimum wage starts at $16. And again, this is based upon the data and analysis that was done. I just want to again re-emphasize the role that HR had played, so Dawn, Lisa, Sam, and Christine in the quality assurance and quality control and ensuring that Evergreen understood the unique environment which is Carbon County. I mean, in CCAP, they normally say if you visited one county in Pennsylvania, you visited one county, and we are very unique, and HR helped bring that reality to Evergreen, who has done work in Pennsylvania, but this was their first time working in Carbon County. That's all I have on that. However, that does tie into the budget, and I'm speaking specifically to the public. I know the most important thing to each of us as taxpayers when it comes to the annual budget and the tentative budget is the tax levy and appropriation resolution. And this year, at least with the tentative budget, it was 0. But I would ask, and historically it seems 2 citizens would look at this 150-page document. Jerry, who's often here, still comes by, and one other individual actually goes through this line by line. I know of no other county citizens other than maybe individuals in county government who have done that on a regular basis. So I would ask county residents to do a deep dive into it, and if you see anomalies, if you have questions of why things have gone up or down, to reach out to us, reach out to me. I'm available 22 hours a day, as most people already know, so we can answer your questions on those modifications or changes in the budget, or simply the general questions you have. Because again, it does impact you. It is the tentative budget. Modifications can be made to include the potential of a tax increase that you don't necessarily see now. So play an active role in your financial situation in Carbon County. Spend a little bit of time doing a deep dive on the budget, even if it's just departments or row offices that you have a specific interest in. That's all I have.
I would caution anyone or encourage anyone that looks at that budget and sees those abnormalities, why there were huge increases in any one department, such as courts or anything else. You have to take many other things into consideration. What is it changing caseloads? Where are we spending more money? And why? This year was an example with the cost of fuel, you know, and we have to adjust for that now. With what's happening, I don't know what's gonna happen in 2023 with the cost of fuel going back down. Hopefully we have adjusted the budget enough to take care of those items, but there's personnel changes, things change in county government all the time, things crop up all the time. We never expected to have to spend $95,000 on an elevator here. You know, so there's many reasons why budgets go up and down. So I I would encourage anyone that does look at that budget, find out why. Because, most cases, there's a legitimate excuse that the public does not understand county government and what we do and all the services we provide. There's a lot of things going on out there that the public is not aware of. I have a big fear next year, and, I don't wanna blame our solicitor, et cetera, but, let's put it this way, I'll blame the solicitors from the school district. I'll take it from, no, wait, it's better, taking it from you or five. Anyway, the problem is now, this coming year, from what we understand, the school boards are gonna be appealing taxes. What kind of burden does that put on our assessment office, our mapping, et cetera? That puts a big burden on them. It puts a burden on our assessment board. Puts a burden on our solicitor, who now was the solicitor there until he became county solicitor. Now he does both, and he's a little concerned with the time that's gonna be involved in all these appeals that we expect to get this year. And I fear in the very near future, the county will be forced into a reassessment. Now, there's many ways to do it, and one county recently or there's several involved right now. I know of one at $1.2 million. When we did the reassessment in '99, it was $3 million for that reassessment. And unfortunately, the system there is still a DOS system. They're doing dual entries, it's a cost, and with all these appeals, and last time we were forced into it because of a lawsuit, commissioners opposed it, spent $25, and we had to do it anyway. So I do see that coming, so we have a lot of things that are gonna happen in this county in the upcoming year, so we have to brace ourselves for, if there's no increase in taxes, we're gonna have to cut services. You tell the citizens or the employees that you're gonna cut wages and that, I don't wanna be here. I won't be here. Maybe. Anyway. But, no, you do have to research why those changes are made in that budget, what comes up that we have to approve. We've been approving all year long, and I brought some up last week, how the service agreements are with the computer companies and technology and everything are really killing us. We spent, I don't know, I wanna see if we can get a number on what just the agreements, the licensing and service for Tyler and all those companies, what, 400,000 in Recorder of Deeds office alone on your computer program, what the court system is costing, et cetera. And it's today's technology, and county government has to keep up with it. So, one other thing I do wanna mention today, that unfortunately, we lost 2 volunteers last night fighting a fire over in Skokomish County. 5 of our departments responded to that call, our, what we call the Rapid Intervention Team. They're on standby outside should things happen, ready to go in with an attack team, the proper tools, etc. That was Lansford, Summit Hill, Nesquehoning, Mahoning, and East Penn also responded. But our people went in when the Mayday came out and had to remove those 2 firefighters. Unfortunately, they did not survive. So I would ask that your thoughts and prayers, not only for New Tripoli firefighters and their families that they lost, but the fire department alone, who is now out of service because of the stress factor, the responding departments that help, get the victims out of the 2nd floor. A lot of unknowns at this point in time. There will be a very thorough investigation. What went wrong? Why did they die? Why did they call? There's many, many reasons, possibilities, but until they know for sure. But not only the prayers for New Tripoli, their family, but all the responders that went to that incident. It is also stressful when something like that happens, when you're still on the scene and still have a job to do. But it sends out pain to every emergency responder, especially the fire in this case. Police officer dies, it hits them more, but all emergency responders, and listening to the state police and EMS and others that go to these incidents, it's awful stressful, and people quit because of that. So keep your thoughts and prayers in mind for them, please. That's all. Our next meeting, ready. Lisa, you wanna join us? Yeah, meeting adjourned.
Morning.
Morning. Okay, now I'll call the monthly meeting of the election board to order. Lisa?
Reconvening the election board meeting of November 11th. Approval of the minutes from the election board meeting held November 10th, 2022.
Motion approved.
Second?
Mr. Arner?
Yeah.
Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes. Are there any guests concerning the election board business? Hearing none, we'll move on.
Ratify the certification of the November 8th, 2022 general election. Yay.
Move to ratify.
Second.
Sorry. I just, a quick update on some things. We're constantly doing the purges that the state requires, that we do every year. We actually just did another one to complete the process when we mail out all the 5-year voter, people that haven't voted, and we just removed another 1,900 that were inactive. So we like to do that, obviously if they're inactive, because we get a lot of complaints that they're in the poll books, and this way people can't say people are voting or they don't live here. So we've been working on that for the past few days. We processed over 800 applications online and in person, probably in 3 days. Jane and Carol did all that. Mailed out all the cards, all the new cards. I mean, it's awfully busy, even after the election. One other thing is, I know the department's gonna put it out, but they did the risk limiting audit. We were involved, some counties weren't chosen, we were, and our totals were exactly the same. We did the 2% audit that we're required to do also, and those were on. So I don't feel in any way that there's any type of fraud. I mean, our vendor has been great. The mailings we're doing have been great, like people are getting ballots in 4 days. I do know we're gonna have a new system through the state that we're prepping for, we got a grant for. Most of the equipment we have we can use, so we don't really have to purchase too much. Some scanners, some barcode readers. I'm working with IT on that. But everything's, I thought, seemed to go smoothly. We haven't really had any complaints. I mean,
And I think I made this comment before, the night of the election, the two that were there, the one from the Republican Party,
oh,
and
the
the one from
recount,
the
or
Democratic
I'm
Party.
sorry, the
Yeah, that,
canvas.
like, they commended what you have done. I mean, they thought the whole staff, not just you, but the whole staff
No,
that
we
was
have,
there,
I do
did a
have a good
tremendous
team.
job, and they did note that. But then I did say to them, well, you don't have to come back in spring. He goes, no, we'll be here. But it was like, but I mean, that's something to hear, that both of them commended you for what you do.
Yeah, and like I said, I can't thank the staff, and we've had the same
No.
staff now for a few years,
Yeah.
especially for canvassing, and everyone, even in the other counties, call my team the A-team. They can't have them, but
Go ahead.
Lisa, I don't think you closed the motion. We
Oh,
didn't do
no.
the roll
oh,
call
I'm sorry.
vote. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yes.
Mr. Arner, Mr. Lukasevich?
Yes.
Mr. Nostine?
Yes.
Sorry.
Further business? Let's
No, I
talk
just-
about what
oh.
we did Friday. Friday morning, we had the Motor Hall of Fame. and we
Sorry,
had,
I was conference, I was like, what? Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you weren't
37.
there, so, huh?
Yeah, I believe there were,
It was powerful.
was it 37? Was that ended up
Yeah.
being the total? I know there was some, like, I know, different things, people weren't there, couldn't
Passed
come.
away since,
Yeah,
et cetera, but it was a nice, short program. Senator Argel represented Heffley and myself. I mean, Chris was away and Rocky was at another function, we can't be everywhere, but, and I forgot to acknowledge Jane, who was in the room at that time when we spoke, but it was a nice program. The recipients were, pleased and grateful for the breakfast and the honor of, voting for 50 years. There were some, since we didn't have it for a couple of years, there were some that were 51, 52 years, et cetera. So it was a nice little program and just a little way of honoring the people. What I did mention in my brief statements was that I wonder what it was like, how many people voted 30 years ago or 50 years ago when they started voting. And you look at today's numbers, well, Edie should be able to tell us, Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you with your age. I don't know how many voted back then, and, you know, and to have 50 years consecutive voting, and then, what's it gonna be like 50 years from now, because now all of a sudden, the numbers, how many turned out to vote 50 years ago compared to this last year or so?
And it's only generals, it's
And it's
50
only
general
general
elections, so.
Yeah.
Come on, Eve, you gotta have the number off the top of your head.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a big difference of how many turned out years ago compared to today, is correct?
And I also just wanted to make note that my office does all the work for the 50-year Hall of Fame. Like, we look up all the numbers, we have to run reports, then we have to literally check all their, you know, their voter registration cards to make sure, because everything was written down. So it's a big task, and, you know, it's hard to do when you're trying to do other things. So I'm hoping going forward we can do it every year, because 4 or 5 year span is a lot to, you know, to look up. Because there's hundreds and hundreds of pages that we have to go through to see who's even included. You know, so just so you know, Jane did a lot of that on her own. Carol also did help. I mean, it was a group effort, but like I said, we've been doing it for so long that she kind of knows how to do everything with that. So
Yeah.
it is a daunting task, but well worth it.
Anything else on this further business? Meeting adjourned. Media, Kelly. Oh, no.
Oh, wait, real quick. All of our totals are on our website by district and total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to make it known. Yeah. Sorry.
Morning.
I was hoping, since the media was provided the information via email during this meeting, if a gentleman would be available after we have the opportunity to review it for questions.
Sure.
Might take you a while.
I hope not. That's all I have.
That's all you have? Amy? Morning.
With regards to the courthouse renovation project change order, that scope of work, were you talking about a structural engineer? Is that what was this?
Yeah, we had a structural engineer to come in to see if the floor would hold what the equipment that's going in there.
Okay.
And I said, I don't have the determination on that yet anyway, and I said,
That's
that's
a
one,
hold up now. in my
and
opinion.
that's one of the things, like I said, I have a view on it, Chris has a view on it, Wayne has a view on it. And you can't have 3 different views, we're gonna have to, this gotta come together within this next
You
month.
need at least 2 views.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
but it's
We
like,
like to run the same.
and
Right, yeah,
and I
exactly,
agree
yeah.
with both of them, but I need the information to do it. I mean, it's like I said, that weight that's gonna be on them floors is 4 times the amount of my pickup truck is. It's a fact. It's like 20,000 pounds in that room, and I need to know what's gonna hold there.
Now, which room are you specifically talking about?
Well, that would be the front room of the old adult probation,
Okay.
the one that's on
Right
the
on the
corner,
corner.
right on the corner.
The corner office. If you recall, several years ago, we had an issue here in this building where we had a
Yeah.
floor started to sink because of the weight of the file cabinets, et cetera. And it was a Friday, fortunately. We had to send the people home, and we had a construction company come in over the weekend and shore the building back up because some of the rafters had split from the weight, and the floor had dropped about 1.5 inches or so from the second floor dropped towards the first floor.
And if you look in the back here, the molding's still crooked yet,
Yeah.
so there's still some fruit there yet.
Yeah, so. But they did it over the weekend, and we're back in Monday morning, so.
And in regards to the salary scales, how much are you currently paying overall annually for the salaries?
Was it 15 million? You have to ask Jeff. I thought it was
Yeah,
around
we'd have to
15
ask him.
million
There was-
without benefits and
Yeah.
entitlements, I think.
Yeah,
And then with this new salary scale, obviously it's not finalized until January 3rd, but how much would that increase that, if, with the new salaries?
It's like probably over 700,000, closer to 8 maybe.
yeah, I think approximately 753,000.
You know, I think, that, Amy, look at, one thing, again, and Rocky had probably voiced it for all 3 of us about trying to get the lower salaried employees up higher. And you can see simply by my, look at 1A in both scales, where you went from non-supervisory from $11.38 to $13. So we're around a 20% increase right there. Now, how many employees are there who might have been below that level and stuff, but there's a significant increase in compliments. And
That's where the biggest complaint was,
Yeah.
starting salaries, et cetera, and I think that's what future, salary boards have to keep up with the economy and the wage scales, and we have done it in the past where we had, slid the scale, eliminated the A rate and just slid everything. We didn't do it enough, and we can, if we do that, at one time when they were talking about the salary scales, it used to go up into double, digits, double A, double B, double C, I forget how high we had gone when I first started. That, people were way over the end of the scale, and it came to the point where, instead of getting an increase, they just get a flat bonus or, maybe a 300, I forget what the figures were, but just a flat, a check for that much. Instead of getting a raise, they just got maybe, let's say $300, whatever the cost was back then. That was a long time ago though.
And, I know the row officers are going to be getting the salary scales. How did you guys group? Can you explain how you grouped, like each grade, since there were so many and they
That
consolidated?
was the big challenging, going by the job description, and partially what took so long, what grade would they then go to without them getting a decrease? And they're trying to define the, supervisory, or probably the easiest one where, if you only supervise one or two, you'd sort of naturally be at the end, lower end, but degrees, if you have a degree required for the job, technical, ability, I guess you could say, or, specialized, maybe an accounting, et cetera, degree or something. There's a lot of things to take into consideration when they were doing this, is where do they fit? And the row offices will, and the department heads will then, they'll get a copy of the proposed, and then they'll have to come in at their salary board executive and argue their points.
Amy, I'd say, look at this. This isn't simply science nor art. It's about 80% science, so collecting data, assessing it, and then about 20% of art, applying it to the particular environment based upon the comparables. And that's what Evergreen did. I mean, that data mining of, the comparable counties and making recommendations, really helped set us up. And Rocky made the comments last week about, the background work they did to get us in the ballpark.
Yeah, and they had, like, everything was sent to Evergreen, like, they had their job descriptions, and people wrote what they thought they did also in their job descriptions. That was sent to Evergreen. I mean, like I said, I was the biggest skeptic of them, but I don't think we could have did it without them. And my feeling on this, I think there was a lot of time spent on this, and I said, everybody knows I've been on this since May already, trying to straighten it. And what Chris and Wayne, I'm not taking anything away from them. We wanted to make it fair to everybody. And sometimes it's not fair, people don't think it's fair to them. But if this is not accepted, then I look at it like we don't want to straighten the disparity out between the wages. Something has to be done. I mean, every complaint that came into me was, we can't keep people. And 53% of the people were at, $11 an hour. That's one of the problems. And it was addressed all the way through the salary scale. It wasn't just the people at the bottom. I mean, there were people throughout that got significant raises for what they do. And like I said, Evergreen, I think maybe they made a comment that they went so far, but I think like Chris even said, like, they went 90 yards and we went the other 10. My feeling is I think Evergreen went 99 yards and we finished the goal line. Because like I said, and so see what happens. See what happens in January.
Thank you. And then the Area Agency on Aging, $100,000 loan, what will that be used for that department?
Waiting for the funding.
Funding,
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I have then. Thank you.
Your name, please?
My name is Chris.
Chris,
Um,
sorry.
I just, if you could clear a few things up, I know I was a little late, so. Can you, just tell me a little bit about what he was upset about with the salary board?
I don't know, you would have to ask him, I guess.
Yeah, I think the district attorney was seeking the information that was utilized to develop the wage scale that was just approved today, right?
And then he was frustrated about the office changes and the courthouse renovation. Can you tell me a little bit about what renovations specifically are at the courthouse?
I think it comes down to some wanna move one way and some wanna move the other way, and it's not determined yet. That's basically it.
Mike needs more space, and he doesn't have what he needs to operate efficiently, is what he was saying.
Same with the
Right.
sheriff's office.
Yeah, same with many offices.
Yeah.
And we're looking at another office, and moving another office out of the courthouse,
Okay.
because we need the space, and as soon as the children and youth gets moved, then that'll free up space, and we'll possibly move two other, departments into that building. It's a, you know, it's a snowball effect. You move one, then we gotta progress, okay, analyze the space needs and who's next on the list, and it's taking too long to tell you that, so. Maybe it would have been cheaper to build a new courthouse. I mean, it was just outgrown and everything here, and what happens if the population would go up, the caseloads go up? And right now, the law only gives us the ability to have 3 judges, but like others have been saying at meetings, we have the caseloads of counties a lot larger than us, with more judges. By law, we can't put a 4th judge on, so it'd take, I think it's a legislative issue that they can do it, and that's how we got the 3rd judge, I think. Kelly, if you can, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how we did get the 3rd judge, by, getting legislative action to allow that to happen. And who knows with the caseloads or where they're going, if they continue to go like this, we'll have to petition, I guess, the state to, you know, increase the ability to put another judge on. And it might be a specialty judge that we would not have to put in the courts, who knows? I don't know what, I don't wanna speak for them, you know, I can't speak for them because they speak for us and they tell us how we gotta do this, but they don't pay us for it. Right? They mandate, we have to pay, simple as that. Okay? Anything else, anything else?
Yeah, for, liquid fuels program number 22648, with bridge number 4, revision number 6, can you just tell me about what renovations are going on?
Yes, there's a bridge repair, that's appropriate, yeah, it's bridge 12.
No, that's Bridge 4.
Or,
No, this is- yeah, this is
right,
right.
it's just they go by numbers instead of
Bridge
names.
4, exactly.
Bridge 4, yeah, right, okay.
If we have extra funding, we put it aside for the project.
Yeah, most of the state does that now, most of that, we used to have our own engineer, they'd have to go out, inspect it and do design and all that, and basically the state took it over and asked for the money, so. We do get a lot from liquid fuel, I mean, not enough, cause we have a lot of bridges that need work. Okay?
And just one more,
Oh, you're only allowed 2, no,
Oh.
okay.
you said you're expecting, a few tax appeals for this year, can you tell me why?
A huge what?
Tax
Tax
appeals.
appeals.
That's the story we're hearing is, the solicitor, I guess the school districts are,
Yeah, these types of appeals generally originate from the school districts. They'll generally look at recent transactions, transfers of property, and then make the determination whether, based on the consideration that was paid for that property, whether it would make sense to appeal that property and seek a higher assessment for a given property. And because, like most taxing districts, there are limited places where you can go to increase tax revenue without actually raising the millage. So that's one tool that the school districts in particular, as a taxing district, go to, is to appeal assessments on the theory that this property is being under-assessed, whereas others are over-assessed. And, you know, unfortunately, as time goes on, that disparity grows, and that's why we were talking about, you know, the dreaded prospect of a countywide reassessment, which is a very expensive and time-consuming process.
And that last time when we did it, we had the appeal boards working how many hours a day? 5 days a week. We'd have evenings all day long for how many weeks? I forget how many, hundreds of appeals we had when the informal, after we adopted the last reassessment. So it gets expensive, and the school districts, the boroughs, and the townships can file appeals on the taxes. The county cannot. The county then pays our assessment board and our solicitors and everyone else to hear all these appeals. And what happens then, who's responsible for doing the reassessment? The counties. And we're not the ones, I feel, we're not the ones that really upset the fruit basket here, but we're the ones that have to pay in the long term now. If the school boards and districts and that would have to help pay for the reassessment, you know, that'd be nice, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, and there's like two sides to the coin, because this year, there was an awful lot of people that paid more for houses. You know, they were given 20% more for a house than what they were, so I'm sure the schools want more taxes, and those people are gonna be coming into us for appeals to lower it. So I think, you know, we had, 220 some appeals this year, next year we could have 700. You know, it's, so next year might be fun.
That's one way to put it.
That's it.
That's it, okay.